Hello and welcome to a quick overview of Czech Boys Choir by The Harmonic. I'm Andre and I'm really excited to share this new library with you because it's it's brilliant. It's the last stage in our is the final stage to our choral journey, and we're really excited to bring it to you. We had the pleasure of recording Czech Boys Choir. Actually, that's their name, and they allowed us to use it for this library. Um, and they fall in the category of top of the crop. Really, they're phenomenal. They're absolutely brilliant, and it was an amazing experience working with them. So I would like to also straight away thank them this way because it was worth it so much. And if you ever need to work with a boys choir on any of your projects, we can strongly recommend them. Now, we recorded them in three, so to speak, sections. There are actually two group sections, the Trebles and Young Men, and then we've captured a very young soloist who, when he auditioned, we pretty much started jumping up and down straight away with joy because it was just so brilliant to hear such angelic and yet typically boyish voice. We were really happy to hear him, and so he is our first, so to speak, vocal group in this. And we recorded him in three mic positions: close microphone, Decca, and far. And the close microphone was considerably closer than on the trebles or the young man. So he can really, well, thanks to his voice as well, but he can really sit on top of the mix. As you can see on the GUI, we have the also the ability to load and unload the microphone positions, like always before, so you can save your resources. You can position the chorus or the choir by changing the balance between close, Decca, and far, like you would already expect from our libraries for choirs. And you can also control the panning on this screen, on the mixer screen, and control the width, which allows you to power pan it, so to speak, a bit more in your mix and makes it blend a lot easier. Now, this library also comes with true sampled round robin. We've sampled for every vowel and every consonant, excluding the unpitched consonants. We've actually sampled the whole library chromatically. And the ranges we describe on our website are true ranges. So they are not retuned. Those are genuine ranges in which the singers were singing originally for this library. And we have captured true round robin sample for each of those vowels and each of these consonants. And in case of unpitched consonants, there are actually three samples, triple sampled round robin. We also have the ensembler and the auto split on this page, and of course our polylegato, which you can CC assign by right clicking on the button and selecting either through a drop down which CC you would like to use to control it, or alternatively you can simply move the CC you wish to use to control. So this page is one of those which is really straightforward. You can also mic link, so you can link either all mics or all the sections or just the voice group and make it louder by simply moving the gliders up and down, and the linked microphones will move together with it. The same actually applies to the loading and unloading of the microphone position. So if you mic link and you click close, for example, it will unload all close microphones for all sections and vice versa. So, or load it back on. So that is a really useful function if you simply need to adjust your volume balance. The next thing we're going to have a look at now is this Libretto Engine, which anybody who used VOP, Voices of Prague, or Soloist of Prague will be very familiar with. All the key functions you became accustomed to are included here. So you have your standard text region where you type in your text, which makes it really straightforward to look at what you've got for singing. Select the step. You can add a step in at any time, which makes it really easy, as well as to remove it. So it's really, as you can see, very editable engine, very straightforward. The typing is as simple as select and click on the buttons. And you can also select on this page which voice you wish to follow. Now, we also have our drop down for Midi channels, which makes it very easy to control the Midi channels. And of course, it's unlimited pages. So like with Voice of Prague and Soloist of Prague, it's unlimited. We've got a few presets for you to get you started. So if you're stuck on how to build a few words, you just drop some of the presets. And that's sort of a good way to get you rolling in. To make sure that the library is as easy and as straightforward to use as possible, we've got some advanced features in CBC, similarly to SOP and VOP, where you can create a selection in the Libretto engine by simply double-clicking and basically typing the numbers in, and then copy that selection and paste it amongst the voice groups. And what's really great as well, that you can do it effectively in the middle of the written text as well. So let's say you've got some phrase you want to slot straight in, let's say step 6 or 7, you just select it, that step where you want to paste it from, and you then basically press paste, and it will move all the other steps sideways for you, creating space for the pasted text. So those are really powerful features for editing, and as you will see later in the demo track when we play the track you've had at the beginning again with the MIDI data, is you can also use loop instead of typing up the text too much, and this selection tool for copy and pasting works on the loop as well, so you can edit a simple voice group which you wish to work on. Of course, we've got the restart, which you can see assigned. By default, that's 116, but you can change it again, like I earlier mentioned, by simply moving a CC you wish to use to control. And the loop, of course, is CC assignable as well. Like majority of our advanced features can be simply right-click and assigned. And the loop function as well is really important to mention. It's great if you need to edit deeper in the text as well. So instead of starting from the beginning, you can start using the loop function instead of a reset. So by turning it on, it will start from that step which you've got selected as the first step. Turning it off and turning it back on will again start from that step which you've got selected as the first step. So it's one of those features which can save an incredible amount of time. You don't have to play the text from the beginning each time. You can play from a specific selection to a specific selection. Erasing is as simple as clicking on erase or using the drop down to select more. The library is separated into vowels, which all have their round robins as mentioned earlier, then into pitched consonants, which also have their round robins and were chromatically sampled, and then into unpitched, which are by nature unpitched, and they have 3 true round robins sampled. And finally, there is the breath, which again has 3 round robins, and it's to add you some life in. We usually recommend using it on a single step. You just drop it in between, press it, just to give the area where you would like the breath to be. So really straightforward in that respect. So now we get to the settings page where you can fine tweak the core of the library. It's sort of the beating heart of the library, and all our libraries have this, where you can go in and fine tweak things. You can adjust the attacks, the releases, the amount of time the vowel is held for, and as usual, we let you adjust that for globally for any consonant or vowel, and for soloist, trebles, young man individually, and the settings get saved by simply saving the multi, and then forever you've got your own patch you've created with your specific voice settings. Now we also have the polylegato settings here where you can adjust the volume and the time. Now the polylegato is really clever in a way that you can actually assign these to a MIDI CC. So you can adjust them on the fly as you play. So if you've got a fast part, you can decrease the time, and when you've got a slow part, you can increase the time. And finally, we've got the sustain controls and the auto split values if you were using them. But that pretty much is the key part of the library. Finally, we have the reverb controls. The reverb is really straightforward here. You can control the mix and the reverb size, i.e. the size of the virtualized hall. We're using for this the spark reverb, which we find to be very flexible. It doesn't affect the tone too much. It allows it to blend well in the mix. And we've already tested it well on Soloist and on Voice of Prague, so we bring it back here again. And on the Czech Boys Choir, it actually works incredibly well because the Boys Choir was recorded in a rather dry hall, differently to Soloists and Voice of Prague, which were recorded in a church. This was recorded in a smaller hall, and it really pays off in the mixability of this library, because the boys choir can be thrown in a big church and will work phenomenally well, but you can also write some really intimate lines in a smaller space. And that is another really unique point to this boys choir, because all other kids libraries are always recorded in big churches, and we wanted something which offered a bit more flexibility, so we recorded them in this nice little small hall theater in Hradec Králové, and it really paid off. It makes it phenomenally mixable. So finally now we reach the stage where we actually get to show off the library, because up till now we've talked about it, and that's all great, but let's actually get to the nitty-gritty bit. How does it sound? So we're going to play you out of the box the track you heard at the beginning, and we're going to be playing it to you, showing the MIDI data. So everything what went in, and you will also see Czech Boys Choir loaded in the UVI, so we'll see how it's moving along the text and how does it look when it's actually playing. So how will it work when it's in your studio ultimately. On the right side, you also see that I'm using mod wheel, a sustain pedal, and playing on the keyboard. I mean, that's basically what's there to it. So it's pretty straightforward. I'll let you listen to the track first of all. So by now it's definitely obvious how awesome the library is, as shown in this beautiful demo track. But we want to really show off the individual parts now, individual voice groups. So we're going to play you first of all the Soloist. As you've probably spotted, the MIDI data on the Soloist is ever so slightly different than the MIDI data in the large mix. That's because in the, and we're talking about the mod wheel action here. The reason for that is when the Soloist exposed, I wanted the consonants to be slightly pushed back in, but when he sings on top of the orchestra and I want his diction to be audible, I can exaggerate them, and that makes him much more understandable. So while I had slightly gentle mod wheel curves here, I was a bit more abrupt on above the orchestra, because I've recorded both basically live. So let's hear him one more time, just so we get to listen to the diction and sort of the angelic voice one more time. now we get to play the trebles. The trebles are again really straightforward. It's a chord progression. There is some odd wheel action, a little bit of sustains because it's chords and I'm a lazy keyboard player. I'm not very good at that. So I use the sustain pedal to hold the step for me while I prepare to press the next chord. It's just one of those cool features we've got in there for not so very good pianists like myself. It really sort of simplifies the workflow for me. So let's have a listen to them. As you could see, there is nothing really complicated into it. It's type in the letters, play the notes, and it sounds awesome. So we'll play them one more time just so you hear them twice as well, because it was a rather short example. And now we finally reach the young man, and what a power in that section. As you'll see on the MIDI CC data, I'm actually going on into about Muffa. I'm not even going much past that because they would just dominate the track. They would be on all over it because that's such a powerful section. So we're going to the Muffa here roughly, and it's still very nice, strong male section. So we'll let you hear that very quickly. So now we had a gentle overview over all three sections. We talked about the basic GUI functions, and we also covered some of the simple key features we've got in the library. For further information, you can visit our website at www.theharmonic.com. Don't hesitate to drop us a line. We reply to every email within 24 hours, answering any questions. And we hope you enjoyed the tour of our library. Take care, guys.